For this Valentine's Day, it's time to review one of my favorite slasher movies, and it just happens to be one of my favorite remakes, My Bloody Valentine 3D. Let's do this. My Bloody Valentine 3D stars Jensen Ackles, Jaime King, Kerr Smith, and is directed by Patrick Lussier. What's up, guys? It's almost Valentine's Day, and I like to put out a horror-related Valentine's Day review every year. Last year, I did the original My Bloody Valentine. The year before that, I did Drumdums watches for this movie that I'm going to be reviewing right now, My Bloody Valentine 3D. And I literally just finished giving this another watch. I probably watch it like once a year. And my God, does this movie really hold up. And I think we take My Bloody Valentine 3D for granted because it's a remake and because the original movie is held so high, especially if you see the uncut version. It is one of the best slashers out there, one of the most underrated slashers out there. And you can say that about the remake. You can say the remake is actually probably one of the best remakes out there. You know, I'm not talking about like highbrow cinema. I'm talking about in terms of like slasher kills, in terms of just like fun, tongue-in-cheek. There's some comedy in there, but it does not hold back on the blood and guts whatsoever. So looking forward to getting into this review. And by the way, this will obviously be a spoiler review. This movie came out in 2009, 10 years ago actually. It's the 10-year anniversary of this movie. So yeah, we're definitely going to be talking some spoilers. And if you remember, in the original one, spoiler for that one too, Axel was the killer in the original one. So going into this one, I always wondered, so what are they going to do? Is it still going to be Axel? Like, how do you do a remake of a whodunit? And the answer is you keep the audience guessing. You make sure the audience doesn't necessarily think that the original intended killer is going to be the killer in the new movie. You know, all bets are off, and that's really what they do in this one. So first off, quick plot synopsis. This movie opens up with Harry Warden. And just to talk about Harry Warden for a second, this is such an interesting anecdote, I guess, in a slasher movie. You had an original slasher, but we've never seen like Harry Warden's movie. You know, they could make a prequel that is just about Harry Warden and his slashing spree, because I believe in this movie they say that he killed like 5 people. So this one starts off 10 years ago, and the mines in this small town, there's this explosion, and it's blamed on our main character, Tom Hannigan, played by Jensen Ackles. But it starts off with this this teenage party. The main characters in this movie, Axel and Tom and his girlfriend Sarah. Like I said, they're having this party in this mine location, and then all of a sudden, Harry Warden is on the loose in there. And this opening scene really lets you know what type of movie you're getting yourself into. There's even a little wink to Michael and Jason in there. There's 2 characters named Michael and Jason. And I believe the Jason character, right when he comes out, he's calling Michael, and then Harry Warden takes the pickaxe and goes right through the back of his head, and then we see an eyeball coming right at the screen, which reminded me of Friday the 13th Part 3 when we have a similar death. But, you know, within this first kill, you can see how great the 3D is in this movie. As a matter of fact, I saw this movie opening night back in 2009, saw it in 3D, and, you know, I had seen a few 3D movies before. 3D's, you know, it's hit and miss for me. But didn't expect it to be this effective, and my God, was it effective for this movie. No genre of film is better made for 3D than horror. And director Patrick Lussier does a really fantastic job of utilizing the format. This whole movie was shot with 3D cameras. It's glorious looking, but even when you're watching this movie not in 3D, which I just did, because sometimes it hurts my eyes, it still looks 3D. That's how great the 3D is in this movie, actually. And boy, do the kills really satisfy. I mean, they satisfy without watching it in 3D, but for instance, there is a kill with a shovel that goes in the middle of one of the characters' mouths. And you literally see the top of her head slide down the shovel. So anyway, there's this big explosion. It's all blamed on Tom Hannigan. And so he leaves the town and comes back 10 years later to really sell off the rights that, you know, because he owns a major portion of the mine. And so that's kind of the story in this thing, is how important the mine is for the town's economy. And so he meets up with Sarah, his old flame. And Sarah is having trouble with Axel, her current husband, which is kind of funny because they traded off. You know, she wasn't Axel's girlfriend, but now she's Axel's wife. And so that's one of the fun dynamics of this movie, is there's just like constant tension between Axel and Tom. And meanwhile, we're trying to guess which one of them is the killer. And also, we got some genre favorites in here. Tom freaking Atkins is in this movie. Not too much. He plays the sheriff at the beginning of the movie, and then 10 years later, he's retired. There's this one funny scene where he's behind the deputy, and she says, you go in first, and he says, no, that's okay, I'm retired. I love that scene. It was really funny. But that's a good segue into the kills, because there are so many freaking awesome kills in this movie. Some of the best kills that you could ever imagine. I mean, I could literally name, like, you could do a top 10 kills of My Bloody Valentine 3D. That's how many great kills there are. Tom Atkins' kill is great because the pickaxe, first off, the pickaxe is just such a great weapon because there's so much you can do with it. You know, sometimes he's holding the business end of the pickaxe, and then other times he's holding the bottom end. But there's just, like I said, there's so many ways you can play around with it. And for Tom Atkins' kill, it goes through the bottom of his jaw, and then he rips his jaw out, and the jaw comes towards the camera in 3D at the viewer. It's awesome. Now, I could literally go down all these kills with you guys, and we could have a good time. But I'm just going to talk about a couple that I really love. The next one, probably my favorite in terms of like intensity and then like a final payoff, is the grocery store scene. You have Sarah and Megan in there, which Megan is cheating on Sarah with Axel. A lot of drama in this movie. But they're being chased by the minor killer. And that scene is so freaking intense. Especially the scene where Megan's like hanging out the window and you're thinking she's going to get away. And then the miner's right there and he's pulling her out. And then when Sarah comes back around with Axel, the reveal is horrifying, actually. Megan is like completely gutted, and you have in blood above her, "Be mine forever." I think Valentine's Day and horror are just a perfect mixture. There's just something that works so well about them. And I think that's because Valentine's Day is a very emotional holiday for a lot of people. Some people don't have a Valentine, some people do. But when you mix emotions with horror and violence, it's just much more intense. And I think that's why we love Valentine's Day horror movies so much. Also, another way this movie delivers is in the TNA department. There is the hotel scene that gives so much and then so much more. You have the scene with Frank and Irene. Frank, played by Todd Farmer, who actually wrote this thing. Kudos to Todd Farmer, by the way. He did such a great job writing this. He actually wrote Jason X too. But this, I think this is like his best work. But if you're into like nudity in your horror flicks, then this scene gives it plenty. I mean, Irene is naked throughout the whole scene. She runs out into the parking lot. We get a great kill with Frank. And then we get a kill with a little person after that, where he sticks the pickaxe into the little person's face and goes up into the ceiling. These kills are irresistible. I can't stop mentioning them. But, you know, as fun as the kills are in this movie, it always keeps you guessing. I remember the first time I watched this, there were times I thought it was Axel, and there were times I thought it was Tom. You know, they did such a great job of bouncing, you know, these potential killers off of each other. And there's even one scene that's pretty much a red herring where Tom is trapped in this cage and the minor killer locks him in. And so right away you think, oh, okay, Tom is not the killer. And you should know better. This kind of has like a high tension ending, actually. But, I mean, getting to that ending, we have this great final act, this big showdown. This is a long final act, too. You know, it starts off with this big chase with Sarah, and it ends in the mine, and then you have this, like, standoff between Sarah, Tom, and Axel. And Sarah doesn't know who the killer is. And so you have Axel and Tom, like, pleading with her, saying, he's the killer, he's the killer. And then eventually Axel just says, you know what, just shoot both of us. If you shoot both of us, then that way you're going to get away. It doesn't matter who the killer is. And then that's when we get the big reveal, because Tom starts freaking out and has his hallucinations. And, you know, it's revealed that Tom is really just completely insane. And then we get the ultimate payoff when, you know, you think Tom is dead, but then he's walking out. He actually kills one of the miners a la H2O Halloween Resurrection. He pulls off his mask, and then Jensen Ackles gives you that Jensen Ackles smirk that works so well, and then we get the end credits. Look guys, this movie, I forget every time I watch this movie how great it is, and it really, in terms of kills, it gives everything. In terms of story, it gives everything. It knows what it is. It's kind of a B-movie, cheesy type of slasher film. It really pays homage to old slasher films from the 80s. It even has like an 80s feel sometimes. There's a few winks and nods to the original with the dryer kill and you know, the miners' outfits dropping. So much fun to be had, you know. It pays respects to the past, but it also forms its own identity, and that is a really hard thing to do for a slasher remake. And that's why I think my Bloody Valentine 3D might be like my favorite remake out there. This movie gets a freaking Trapped on an Island. I'm gonna say that right now. It is a full meal in terms of a slasher movie. It gives everything. So anyway guys, post in the comments your thoughts on my Bloody Valentine 3D. Looking forward to hearing them. I hope you guys are having a great Valentine's Day. Also be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.